Hey everyone, and welcome back. You know I love a good deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
And today we're taking a deep dive into a book that can seriously level up your team game.
For sure.
We're talking about Patrick Lencioni's The Five Dysfunctions of a Team.
Classic.
A classic for a reason. This book is like a cheat sheet for building high-performing teams. And by the way, don't forget to check out the episode description.
Right.
We've got links to some awesome study notes.
Nice.
And even a link to snag the audiobook.
Always good to have those extra resources.
Absolutely. Okay, so The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. It's all about understanding those common pitfalls that trip up even the most talented teams.
Yeah, it's like he took all those frustrating team experiences we've all had and turned them into a blueprint for what not to do.
Exactly. And the best part is he gives you actionable steps to fix those dysfunctions.
Yeah, he doesn't just point out the problems.
Right.
He shows you how to solve them.
Okay, so let's dive into the first dysfunction.
All right, let's do it.
Lencioni kicks things off with
absence of trust.
Absence of trust.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of people hear trust and they think like,
oh, I trust my team. They're good people.
Right. But Lencioni's talking about a deeper level of trust.
It's about vulnerability.
Vulnerability, being able to admit weaknesses.
To say, hey, I messed up.
Right. Or to ask for help without feeling like you're going to be judged.
And that's hard, especially in a work environment.
Oh, for sure. It can feel risky to let your guard down.
Right, like you're showing your cards too soon.
But that's exactly what Lencioni says is essential for building a truly cohesive team.
Because without that foundation of trust, you can't really move on to the other things.
Okay, so you're saying trust is like the bedrock.
Absolutely.
The foundation upon which everything else is built.
Yep. And Lencioni illustrates this with a really interesting anecdote in the book.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
It's about Carlos, the head of customer support at this fictional company called Decision Tech.
Okay.
And Carlos wants to move up to the head of sales position.
Makes sense, the ambitious guy.
Yeah, but the thing is, the team knows that there are others who are more qualified.
Oh, so that's got to be a tricky situation.
It is. But because there's this culture of trust at Decision Tech, they're able to give Carlos honest feedback.
Without crushing his dreams.
Exactly. They're able to say, hey, Carlos, we appreciate your ambition, but here's why this might not be the best fit right now.
And Carlos can actually hear that feedback because he trusts that they have his best interests at heart.
Exactly. It's not about tearing him down.
Right.
It's about helping him grow.
Wow, that's powerful. And, it makes me think about,
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a team where that kind of honest feedback was missing? Like where a lack of trust prevented those tough conversations?
Tons of times.
Right. What happened? Did things go well or did it create tension and problems down the road? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, listeners. Leave a comment below and tell us about your experiences.
Yeah, let's keep this conversation going.
Okay, so no trust, no honest feedback. What's next on Lencioni's list of team dysfunctions?
Well, next dysfunction is kind of a natural consequence of that lack of trust.
Oh, I see.
It's the fear of conflict.
Fear of conflict, you mean like?
Yeah, like avoiding those difficult conversations.
It is disagreements.
Yeah, because if you don't feel safe being vulnerable, you're not going to want to rock the boat.
You're going to avoid anything that could lead to tension.
Exactly. And Lencioni argues that this fear of conflict is actually super damaging to a team.
Okay, so he's not saying that we should all be fighting all the time.
No, not at all.
But he's saying that healthy conflict, where it's focused on ideas and not personalities, that's actually essential for growth.
Yeah, think about it.
Yeah.
If everyone's just agreeing with each other all the time, are you really pushing yourselves to come up with the best solutions?
That's a good point. It's like that saying, iron sharpens iron.
Exactly. You need that friction to spark innovation and creativity.
Okay, so healthy conflict.
Good.
Good. Unhealthy conflict.
Bad.
But how do you make sure that conflict stays constructive? Like, how do you prevent it from getting personal and nasty?
That's where leadership comes in.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
Lencioni talks about the importance of setting ground rules.
Ground rules?
Yeah, like a team charter that explicitly encourages open dialogue.
So everyone knows that it's safe to challenge ideas.
Even the leader's ideas.
Whoa, even the leader's ideas.
Yeah, because if the leader shuts down dissent, everyone else will follow suit.
That makes sense. It's like setting the tone for the whole team culture.
Exactly. And it's not just about saying it. You have to model it.
Walk the walk.
Exactly.
Okay, so trust leads to healthy conflict, or at least makes it possible.
Right.
Then what? What happens when a team can actually have these productive disagreements?
Well, that brings us to dysfunction number 3.
Okay, hit me with it.
Lack of commitment.
Lack of commitment. But I thought we were just talking about how important it is to disagree and debate ideas.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Lencioni argues that a fear of conflict can actually make it harder for teams to commit to decisions.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, because if you haven't really debated the options,
Right.
you're not fully bought in.
Even if you superficially agree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not just about going along with the majority. It's about getting to a place where everyone understands the decision, the why behind it, and is willing to support it, even if it wasn't their top choice.
So it's not just about voting.
No.
It's about getting to a place of true consensus.
Exactly. Where everyone's on board with the direction, even if they had different ideas initially.
And Lencioni stresses that making a decision,
Any decision,
is better than no decision.
especially when it comes to important matters.
Right, because indecision leads to stagnation
Exactly.
and ambiguity.
Yeah, and that just creates more problems down the road.
So you need that clear commitment to move forward effectively.
Absolutely, and without it, you end up with dysfunction number 4.
Ooh, tell me more.
It is avoidance of accountability.
Avoidance of accountability. Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is, and it's directly tied to that lack of commitment we were just talking about.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
If you're not really committed to a decision,
Right.
you're probably not going to be too eager to hold yourself accountable for making it work.
Exactly. And you're also less likely to hold others accountable.
It's like everyone's trying to avoid blame,
Totally. And that just creates a culture of finger pointing.
where no one wants to take ownership.
And when things go wrong,
Everyone's scrambling to protect themselves.
instead of figuring out how to fix it as a team,
And it all goes back to that foundation of trust.
it does. Remember we talked about how trust is essential for everything else?
It's like the glue that holds it all together.
Exactly. And when there's a lack of trust,
Yeah.
accountability feels like punishment.
Ooh, that's a good point. It's like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Exactly. You're constantly on edge, worried about being blamed.
But when you have that base of trust,
Yeah.
accountability becomes about support.
Right. It's like, hey, we're all in this together.
How can we help each other succeed?
Exactly. And those difficult conversations,
Yeah.
they don't feel so scary anymore.
Because you know they're coming from a good place.
From a place of genuine care for the team and the shared goal.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got 4 dysfunctions down.
4 down.
What's the final piece of this puzzle?
The 5th dysfunction is inattention to results.
Inattention to results. So like
Yeah, like losing sight of the bigger picture.
losing sight of why you're all working together in the first place.
Exactly. It's when teams become so focused on their individual goals
Their own little silos.
that they forget about the collective outcome.
It's like everyone's rowing in different directions
Yeah.
and the boat's just going in circles.
You got it. And Lencioni has this great example in the book.
Oh, I love his examples. What is it?
It's about this newspaper chain
Okay.
that intentionally fostered competition.
Competition.
Yeah, between its executives.
So like pitting them against each other?
Pretty much.
I can see how that could backfire.
Oh, it definitely did.
So what happened?
While the individual papers might have done well,
Okay.
the organization as a whole suffered.
Because they weren't working together.
Exactly. They were too busy trying to outshine each other.
Instead of focusing on the overall success of the company.
And Lencioni argues that this happens a lot.
Really?
Yeah, he says that one of the biggest obstacles to teamwork,
Is,
the ego.
ooh, the ego. Tell me more about that.
Well, when people are more concerned with their own status
Their own recognition.
than with the team's success, it creates a toxic environment.
It's like everyone's trying to climb over each other to get to the top.
Yeah, and that just breeds resentment and distrust.
Which takes us right back to dysfunction number 1.
Full circle.
So how do you combat this ego problem? How do you create a team culture where it's not about individual ambition, but about collective success?
Well, Lencioni suggests a few things. First, publicly celebrating team accomplishments.
Ooh, I like that. Giving credit where credit is due.
Exactly. And then tying individual rewards
Yeah.
to team performance.
So everyone's incentivized to work together.
Right. And then making sure that everyone understands how their individual work contributes to the bigger picture.
So it's not just about checking off your to-do list.
Right.
It's about seeing how your piece of the puzzle fits into the whole.
Exactly. It's about connecting the dots.
I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've talked about the 5 dysfunctions.
The 5 big ones.
And we've even touched on some solutions.
Yeah.
But how do we actually put all this into practice? Like, how do we take these concepts and make them a reality in our own teams?
That's the $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
But the good news is,
Yeah.
Lencioni doesn't just diagnose the problems.
Right.
He offers concrete solutions.
You good goods.
Okay, so first things first.
Yeah.
Don't try to do everything at once.
Small steps.
Exactly. You can start with small, incremental changes.
Focusing on one dysfunction at a time. And building momentum from there. Okay. That feels much more manageable.
Right.
Because I was starting to feel a little overwhelmed.
It's a lot to take in, but remember, you don't have to do it all at once.
Progress, not perfection.
Exactly. So where should we start?
Well, you talked about trust being the foundation.
Right, the bedrock.
So maybe that's a good place to begin.
I agree. You got to start with trust.
But building trust can feel daunting,
It can.
especially if there's been a lot of damage in the past.
Yeah, but there are things you can do.
Yeah.
Lencioni suggests some really interesting team-building exercises.
Oh, I love a good team building exercise. What kind of exercises are we talking about?
Well, one of them is called the personal histories exercise.
Personal histories exercise. That sounds intriguing.
It's basically each team member takes a turn
Yeah.
sharing their personal story.
Like where they grew up and what their family's like.
Exactly. Any defining moments that shaped who they are today.
Wow. That's pretty personal.
Yeah, it is, but it's incredibly powerful.
I can see how that would help people connect on a deeper level.
It does. It creates that sense of empathy and understanding.
Like we're all in this together.
We're all human.
Okay, I like that one. What else?
Another good one is the team effectiveness exercise.
Team effectiveness exercise. Okay, I'm listening.
This one's a little more challenging.
Oh, how so?
It focuses on weaknesses.
Weaknesses.
Yeah, each team member shares one personal weakness.
That could potentially impact the team.
Exactly.
Ooh, that sounds scary.
It can be, but it's also very liberating.
How so?
Because when you get those things out in the open,
Yeah,
they lose their power.
just like facing your fears.
Exactly. And it also helps the team understand
Yeah.
how to best support each other.
So it's not about pointing fingers.
No.
It's about understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses.
And working together to compensate for those weaknesses.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got some tools for building trust.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, remember how we talked about conflict being a good thing?
Healthy conflict.
Right.
But I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Oh, for sure.
Like they're so afraid of conflict.
That they avoid it at all costs.
So how do you create a culture where people feel comfortable disagreeing?
Well, first you have to redefine what conflict means.
Okay, I'm listening.
We're not talking about screaming matches or personal attacks.
Right.
It's about having passionate,
Yeah.
constructive debates.
Focused on ideas and solutions.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
Lencioni suggests developing a team charter.
A team chart.
Yeah, like a set of ground rules
Okay.
that explicitly encourages open and honest dialogue.
So everyone knows that it's okay to disagree,
And that their opinions will be respected.
even if they're not ultimately chosen.
Exactly. It's about creating that psychological safety
Where people feel comfortable speaking their minds.
without fear of retribution.
And that starts with the leader, right?
Absolutely. The leader has to model this behavior.
But being willing to both challenge and be challenged.
Exactly. It's about leading by example.
Okay, so we've got trust, we've got healthy conflict.
But about commitment.
Ah, yes, commitment. That's where things start to get real.
Because it's one thing to talk about ideas.
Yeah,
It's another thing entirely to actually commit to them.
and to see them through.
Exactly. And Lencioni argues that leaders play a crucial role in fostering that commitment.
Okay, so how do they do that?
Well, it starts with ensuring
Yeah.
that everyone has a voice.
A voice in the decision-making process.
Exactly. And he recommends techniques like brainstorming,
Okay.
open discussions,
Yeah.
even anonymous feedback if necessary.
So everyone feels heard,
Right.
and then once a decision is made,
Yeah.
it's important to clearly communicate
The rationale behind it.
the expected outcomes.
It's about transparency and clarity
So everyone's on the same page.
and feels like they were part of the process.
I like that.
Yeah,
And it also helps to reinforce that commitment regularly, right?
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
not a one-time thing.
So regular check-ins progress, reports open discussions about any challenges or roadblocks that arise.
Exactly. It's about staying connected to the goals and making sure everyone's still on board. Which brings us to accountability.
Accountability, that word that can make people cringe.
I know, right?
But we've talked about how it doesn't have to be a negative thing.
It's about support, not punishment.
So how do you create a culture of accountability
Yeah.
that feels supportive and empowering?
Well, for starters, roles and responsibilities need to be crystal clear.
Everyone needs to know what's expected of them.
And how their work contributes to the team's overall goals.
Right. And then it's about creating a culture, transparency, and regular feedback.
So regular progress meetings.
Where team members share updates on their work, openly discuss challenges and obstacles, and offer support to one another.
Exactly. And when someone isn't meeting expectations, it's about addressing the issue directly.
But constructively.
Right. Remember, accountability is about helping each other succeed.
Okay, so we've talked about building trust, embracing healthy conflict, fostering commitment, and creating a culture of accountability.
We've covered a lot of ground.
That just leaves us with that fifth dysfunction.
Inattention to results.
How do we ensure that everyone stays focused on the collective goals, especially when those individual egos start creeping in?
This is where things get really interesting.
Hang out all ears.
Lencioni emphasizes the importance of aligning personal goals with team goals.
So finding that sweet spot where individual ambitions actually contribute to the team's success.
Exactly. And it's about celebrating those wins as a team.
Making it clear that we're all in this together.
And that success is a shared experience.
I love that. What else?
Lencioni also suggests using team-based rewards and recognition.
To incentivize that collective effort.
Exactly. It's about creating a system that rewards collaboration over competition.
This is all making so much sense. But I have to admit, it sounds like a lot of work.
It is. Building high-performing teams takes effort.
And intentionality.
But the rewards are well worth it.
It's about creating a culture of excellence.
Where everyone thrives.
And feels like they're part of something truly special.
Exactly. And to bring it back to Catherine Peterson and Decision Tech.
Oh yeah, how did their story end?
Well, they managed to turn things around.
They did.
They did. By addressing each of the 5 dysfunctions. They transformed their team dynamics.
And achieved remarkable results.
In fact, they became the industry leader.
Wow, that's amazing. What a testament to the power of teamwork.
It really is, and it shows that any team, no matter how dysfunctional, can turn things around.
There's hope for us all.
There is. And speaking of turning things around, we've reached the end of part 2 of our deep dive.
Already.
I know it flew by, but don't worry, we're not done yet.
There's more.
There's more. In part 3,
okay,
we'll explore some additional insights
and strategies
for building truly exceptional teams.
So grab your coffee, tea, or whatever your beverage of choice is.
And get ready for the final part
of our deep dive into the 5 dysfunctions of a team. See you soon. All right, we're back for the final part.
Part 3
of our deep dive into the 5 dysfunctions of a team.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
But there's still so much to unpack.
There is.
So much good stuff in this book.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
Well, one of the most powerful takeaways for me is that teamwork is a skill.
A skill?
Yeah.
So you're saying it's not something you're just born with?
No, it's not like some magical talent that you either have or you don't. Well, it's something you can learn and develop.
Through practice.
Exactly.
And intention.
It's like any other skill.
Like playing the piano.
Yeah, or speaking a new language.
The more you do it,
the better you get.
That's so encouraging.
It is.
Because it means that even teams, they're really struggling. That maybe see themselves in those 5 dysfunctions.
Right.
They can turn things around.
Absolutely. It's not a lost cause.
It's not about finding the perfect team members.
No.
It's about learning how to work together effectively.
It's about developing those teamwork muscles.
I love that. Okay, so Lencioni gives us this roadmap.
They die.
For building a high-performing team.
And it starts with creating the right culture.
Okay, what does that look like?
Well, it's a culture that values vulnerability, open communication,
and a shared commitment
to excellence.
It's about shifting the mindset
from me to we.
From individual success to collective success.
Exactly. It's recognizing that we're all in this together.
And that our individual success
is ultimately tied to the team's success.
But that's a big shift.
It is.
For a lot of people.
It goes against our natural instincts.
Right. We're kind of wired to look out for number one.
But Lencioni argues that that's actually counterproductive.
When it comes to teamwork.
Exactly. Because when you're constantly trying to outshine each other, you're not really working together.
You're working against each other.
And that just creates a toxic environment.
Where no one wins.
Exactly. So it's about making a conscious effort
To shift that mindset.
From me to we.
And that's where leadership comes in, right?
Absolutely. Leaders play a crucial role.
In establishing that foundation.
For a high-performing team.
They need to model the behavior they want to see.
Exactly. It's about leading by example.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
Well, for starters,
Yeah.
leaders need to be willing to admit their own mistakes.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is, but it's so important.
Because it shows that it's okay to be human.
To be imperfect.
And it creates a safe space.
For others to do the same.
Leaders also need to be willing
to
have those tough conversations.
Ones that we all dread.
Right, the ones where you have to give someone feedback.
That they might not want to hear.
But that's essential for growth.
It is. Because if you're not giving people feedback, they're not going to know
what they need to improve on.
Exactly. And they're going to keep making the same mistakes.
And finally, leaders need to be willing to put the team's goals
ahead of their own ego.
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is, but it's so important.
Because if the leader is more concerned with their own advancement
or recognition,
it creates a sense of distrust
and resentment
among the team.
Exactly. So it's about being selfless.
Putting the team first.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of leadership. But what about the rest of the team?
Well, everyone has a role to play
in building a high-performing team.
And Lencioni emphasizes the power of small changes.
Small changes. So you're saying we don't have to overhaul everything overnight.
No, you can start with small incremental improvements.
Focusing on one dysfunction at a time.
And building momentum from there.
Okay, that feels much more manageable.
Right.
So where should we start? What's a practical first step?
Well, remember how we talked about trust being the foundation?
The bedrock.
So that's a good place to start.
Okay. But how do you actually build trust?
Well, one way is to simply have more open and honest conversations.
Okay, but that's easier said than done.
I know, but there are things you can do.
Like those team-building exercises we talked about.
Exactly, like the personal histories exercise.
Where everyone shares their personal story.
Right, it's a great way to get to know each other.
On a deeper level.
And to build empathy and understanding.
And what about the team effectiveness exercise?
That's a good one, too.
Where everyone shares a weakness.
That could potentially impact the team.
That one's a little scary.
It can be.
But it's also powerful.
It is. Because it forces you to be vulnerable.
And to confront those things?
That you might be hiding.
Okay, so we start with building trust.
Then we move on to embracing conflict.
Fostering commitment.
Accountability.
And ultimately, a shared focus on results.
It's a journey.
Not a destination.
And one final thought. Remember that the journey itself can be incredibly rewarding.
Oh, absolutely.
When you have a team that trusts each other.
That communicates openly.
Works together towards a shared goal.
It's an amazing experience.
It is. It's like magic.
It's about creating a culture of excellence.
But also a culture of joy.
Because when you're part of a high-performing team, work doesn't feel like a chore.
No.
It feels like an adventure.
Exactly.
So go out there.
Embrace the challenge.
And build some incredible teams.
You got this.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the 5 dysfunctions of a team. We hope you learned a lot and feel inspired to create some amazing teams of your own.
And remember, teamwork is a skill. The more you practice, the better you'll get. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep building those exceptional teams.
Until next time, keep diving deep.